Yeah, let's go then. We are coming live again. It is Friday, 12 o'clock. We know what that means. It means it is the Get Hired LinkedIn Live. I hope you're all well. Great to see you all as ever. It is a rainy day where probably I think the whole planet seems to be raining at the moment. We seem to be having this monsoon. So wherever you are, wherever you're based in the world, I hope it isn't as rainy as it is here. It is. We haven't quite got to the stage of putting the heating back on, but it almost feels like we need to do that. But hopefully there's going to be better weather ahead. I hope you're all well. As ever, please make sure you say hello, introduce yourselves as to where that is. We are coming live this time, and we're going to be talking specifically about how to get visible, how to get seen, what to do out there to try and break through the real challenge of trying to find a job in this market, which is super tough. Foxy, great to see you as ever. It is a happy Friday. I don't know about you, but it has been a long, long week. Wendy, great to see you as well. Thanks for coming along. I hope you are well. And look, let's talk a little bit more about what we're going to be doing today, because the reason why we talk about here on the Get Hired LinkedIn Live so much about visibility and getting seen is because of the state of the job market out there, because so many people are finding it super, super tough. It isn't the easiest market out there. And look, we've had ups and downs in the job market. I'm sure that anyone who's been in the world of work for any length of time has probably found certain times a little bit easier than others. But what we did know that was about 20 odd years ago, the way to find a job was that you just applied for as many as you could do, probably about 20 or 30 applications. You were pretty much guaranteed to get an interview and to then get hired. It was relatively straightforward to do that. And some days, some years it could be a little bit more tricky than others, but it was never like it is now, where you're literally having to apply to hundreds upon hundreds. Some people I know out there are actually going to thousands of applications, and the majority of which they never hear of anything ever again. So literally you are applying into a virtual black hole. You never get anything back, no communication, let alone an interview. You're just hearing nothing at all. There is a different way, and that's part of the issue that we have to do. Great to see everybody else coming in as well. Mandy, great to see you from Hampshire. I was there the other day. I hope it is doing well for you. Fergal, as ever, great to see you. Great to see you checking in yet again as well. And it has been a long, I know it has been a very, very long week. Foxy, Nigel, keeping the strength alive. We all, us Nigels, need to stick together. It is an ever reducing talent pool of Nigels out there. I heard, I think it was about 2 years ago that there were not one single baby that was named Nigel. I don't know whether that's coming back into fashion, but you never know. I think hopefully we're making a comeback. And so now that we've got two Nigels here together, if we have one more in this, we get some kind of a free gift from the Nigel Society for having three of us in the same virtual room at the same time. But look, this is a really important point of what we've got to do here today, which is going to be looking at how do we get attention? How do we get in front of the people that really matter? And the people that really matter are the people who are making decisions, people who are hiring, the recruiters, not just the recruiters, but also the people who are hiring themselves in the businesses, the hiring managers, the owners of businesses, the founders, the sales directors, marketing directors, whatever area you are in. What we've got to try and do is make sure that you are being seen there, because what is happening right now is if you just have an application only strategy, as I spoke about before, which is that sort of historical way that everybody thought, I need a job, what do? I go onto a job board and I just apply to lots and lots of jobs, send my CV over. And it's all about making sure I get my CV, get it formatted correctly, get it sent out to as many people as possible, and then hopefully somebody magically will see it. But of course, the problem is that thousands of people are doing that. And right now, AI, which we hear about in every part of life, but in recruiting, where it is having a massive impact and not a good impact for candidates, is that it's allowing job applicants to apply en masse to as many jobs as possible. There are AI systems out there now where you just put into your CV, put in what you're looking for, and they'll do the applications for you. And you can get tens, if not hundreds of applications daily happening. Now, you scale that out, and what is happening is a lot of companies and organizations are finding that they are getting thousands of applications for their role. I have had numerous examples of job posts that my clients have put out there that in the space of 24 hours have had upwards to 500 applications in 24 hours. How are you going to compete to get your application seen by the person that matters when you're already in 24 hours up against another 500 people? It's really, really difficult. And that's why it isn't going to be possible to really rely on that application only strategy. Great to see some more people. Dougie, good to see you from Scotland. I hope that Scotland is not as cold as it is here in Yorkshire, because it is really cold here. Kate, good to see you as well. My favorite brother is called Nigel. Absolutely. And I can imagine it is because he is a Nigel. That's what Nigels are like. You've got very good taste there. All Nigels are everybody's favorite brother somewhere along the line. I think that's true. But we need to keep that going strongly. I should, if there isn't a Nigel union that has been created, or a Nigel group, I think there should be one. Preserve Nigels. That's probably the best thing to do. So look, what we need to do is look to see, how do we change that momentum? Because the most important thing to do if you're out of work is you've got to be seen by the right person. And what we always sort of have in our mind is that the right person is, I need the recruiter to see it, and we don't sort of see beyond that. So there are tools out there that we can do to try and make sure that you get seen to as many as possible. Now, obviously, we're on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is the platform for you to be seen. If you are looking for a job, looking for work, then it's fair to say that you're probably going to find the person that is going to be hiring on LinkedIn. At last count, they have 1.2 billion people on LinkedIn. There's quite a lot. So I'm pretty sure that just about whatever type of business you're in, you are absolutely going to find that person here on this platform. And so don't be fooled if you hear of people say, oh, well, nobody uses it. It doesn't really get used. It's not the kind of place to go to. Ignore it. I can tell you now, it absolutely is. For certain, just about every recruiter, both working in-house for companies and for agencies, they will be using LinkedIn. All of them will be using LinkedIn. Any recruiter worth their salt will be on LinkedIn, and they will be using some of their additional product, which is the LinkedIn Recruiter, which gives them the ability to search out, to filter out to the skill sets and values that they're after, and be able to directly reach out to them with emails as well. And that's their primary source to be able to proactively find great talent for their business, because people are still hiring. It's not like there are zero jobs out there. There absolutely are. But there are more and more jobs that are out there that never see the light of day on a job post. They never go onto a job board. They will never be advertised. That is that hidden job market. And what we need to do is to make sure that you get access not just to the jobs that are being openly advertised, but also to the ones that aren't, that hidden jobs market. It's so important to make sure that you maximize your capability of getting seen, getting out there, and making sure that you can get hired for the kind of roles that you want and are going to be right for you. So how do we create that kind of visibility? Now, here comes the bit which can get scary. What it's about is creating content and commenting on volume out there on LinkedIn. So it means that you've got to start pushing things out there onto LinkedIn and explaining what it is that you do, the value that you add, the insights that you've got, the problems that you solve for the kind of people who are going to be hiring. That's what we need to get out there. So creating visibility is super important. It is not about becoming a LinkedIn influencer, of trying to get millions of impressions out there and getting your views and doing some kind of TikTok dance or something like that. No, that's the good news. You don't have to do that. But what you do have to do is to make sure that you're starting to get attention. And LinkedIn has that ability to be able to do that. The good news is that you're not having to do it like an Instagram or a TikTok, or it is already geared up for business. It's already geared up with a mindset of when somebody comes on, goes onto their phone and starts scrolling through LinkedIn, their mindset is already set to business. I'm already thinking about business. So that means that clearly you're going to have a fairly warm audience when they're scrolling through to look through and see you. The second thing to bear in mind, because I'm sure that all of you might think, oh, well, I've only got a few hundred connections or a few hundred followers, or I've got 1,000 or 2,000. They're never going to see it. I don't have enough people there to do that. The great news is LinkedIn has changed. In fact, social media is changing. It is that sort of TikTokification of social media. What it means is it's no longer based on how many followers you've got. They're not pushing to just your followers. It is about attention. So in other words, it is interest media it is turned into. So if you are interested in Rolls-Royce cars and you start following and start looking at some videos about Rolls-Royce cars, you might have seen this if you go onto TikTok. You start sitting on one particular type of content and then you sort of scroll through something else that's similar to that. Suddenly, for the next few hours, that's all it starts pushing to you. The same type of content from the same type of person, you suddenly see a lot more of it. It's because the algorithm assumes you obviously are interested in that at that point of view. So I'm going to give you a bit more to see whether that's clearly what you're interested in. LinkedIn has adapted in a similar way, not quite the same as TikTok, but in a similar way, is that it is interest led. So if you are following something about finance in technology companies and you're hanging on to that particular post, you're reading it a bit longer, the algorithm will work that out and think you're clearly starting to be interested in it. I'm going to push you some more content that's similar to that. So that's how it's starting to change there. What that means for you is that you can start to be seen much more easily by the kind of people who are going to be likely to be hiring in your niche by creating the right content that they are interested in. So the very first thing that we need to be doing is looking for your target audience. Who are the people that you want to go and work for? So before you do anything, map out your market. Have a look and see what is out in there in the marketplace, what's happening, who is it, what are the kind of companies that I want to work for, who are the companies who are competitors to the companies I've used to work for in the past. In my business sectors, make sure you follow them. So go and follow those companies. And that's great for two reasons. One, because you'll start seeing their media posts that come through. And secondly, once you're following that, hopefully this is working now. I think I might be back. James will tell me at some point whether I am back. There you go. No matter what happens, these things happen as well. I was saying that what happened last week, I got so excited with the LinkedIn Live that I managed to break my pod mic, so I had to get a new one. As ever, as soon as you plug these things in, they all decide to go wrong. But that's what happens when you go live. So hopefully you can still see me we've got right back. So hopefully we can carry on. So what I was saying was, and let's just pick back up on where we were. What's really important is make sure you follow the companies that you are interested in. And why that's so important is not just so that you can actually make sure that you are being seen by the right people, but also the recruiters of those companies will start to actually make sure that you're coming through and they can see you and search for you. And that's where they're going to start finding it. Yes, you might be finding you're going to have some problems for getting it. There is going to be a slight delay. Whenever we do these LinkedIn lives, there's about a 30-second delay. So it will come back on. It's great to see that you're going to see us coming back on again here now. And that, interestingly, is the whole point. Look, things go wrong in life. It happens a lot. And not only just with microphones, LinkedIn lives, as you can say, there's also going to be a few technical issues in terms of getting the sort of time lapse in between. But what's really important is to make sure that when you get these kind of issues that go through, to keep on pushing through, and searching for a job is exactly the same. So once you've actually got your LinkedIn recruiter area sorted out, what we need to make sure is that you're following the right companies. You make sure that you then have your LinkedIn profile is fully optimized. So make sure that when you've done that, you've got to make sure that your LinkedIn profile demonstrates and shows the value that you've got. Because when we're starting to create all the content, what we're going to be doing is trying to get as many people driven through to your LinkedIn profile as possible. Your LinkedIn profile is not your online CV. It is your landing page. That is the area that you want as many people going to see. And that's where you can literally sell your wares. That's where you are marketing yourself, where you are showing your value and what you need to be seen to be doing there. So there's a lot of things that we need to do in order to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is done. Before you do anything, I always like to challenge people. This week, I think what's really important, make sure you've audited your LinkedIn profile. Go through it. Is it showing and demonstrating the value you've got? Have you updated each of your different jobs that you've got there as well? See what there is that you can do. The best way to look at it is think of it that if someone that doesn't know you at all went onto your LinkedIn profile, would they be able to know and articulate what you do and what value you bring and what problems you solve? And if they couldn't work that out without actually knowing the industry, then you need to rewrite it and do it that way. Wendy, I'll take any dumb question. I don't mind whether it's dumb or not. How do we create a target list? I've exhausted my sector currently after 5 months. It's a great question. Actually, it's a really, really good question. If you're not using it already, use AI to help you. So whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, whichever one is your particular favorite, but go on to that and ask it the question. The best thing that you could do is you can start listing the companies that you've worked for and the specialties that you've got. So it might be for yourself, Wendy, you've got an industry sector. So you put so ask ChatGPT or whichever, this is my industry sector. These are the companies I used to work for. These are the job titles I had there. Give me a list of all the competitors in that market. Everything from, and depending on what kind of company size it is, it could be over like 500 employees. So every company that's over 500 employees globally, give me a list of them. And then you're starting to build up that list. And then you can ask it again, great for this list. Now give me the list of its key partners that they work with. Who are the agreements they've got, industry partners, value-added resellers. Give me the list of people who work competitively with them in certain products they've got. And before you know it, you'll have a list of about 50 different companies. Then you take that list, go into LinkedIn, and then you just put in the search bar each one that you've got, find the actual company, and then just start following them. So before you know it, you will have 50 different companies that you're following. And there is going to be a little bit of work that you'll need to do in that, is when you've got each company, go to the page, the company page, and on the company page, you'll be able to see, it'll have people. Click on the people and start looking. Start to look to see who it is that's in there, what their titles are. Find the titles of people who would be hiring you, who you would be reporting to. the owners of the company, the MDs, the CEOs, the CFOs, the VP of sales, VP of marketing, whatever part of the business that you're in, VP of engineering, etc., and then start following them as well. So you don't, and the good thing is, remember, there are two different connection points in LinkedIn. You can either follow or you can directly connect. You only have 30,000 connections that you can possibly make, but you have unlimited followers. So you can follow as many people as you like. And when you're following them, there's no connection there with anything else. They might be notified that you're being followed, but they're not going to really know that. But what it means is that you'll get into your feed and you'll start having access to all of the posts that they've got, all the content they have as well. So you'll then start to be able to interact with them. So that's what you need to do in order to start targeting. So AI is your friend here. It will absolutely help you to build those target companies. And make sure you start connecting with them. But the real important thing here is just there's a blend between that point of marketing yourself and letting people know what value you've got, and then being really pushy and keep on telling everybody that you're out of work. And I know personally what it's like when you're out of work, especially when it's taking a bit of time. You are desperate for everyone to know that, because you want to get interviewed, you want to try and get a job, you've got to try and pay the bills, you've got to, they're not going to pay themselves, so you have to try and do that. But it's counterintuitive. But in actual fact, what's really important, that when you're creating content, when you're commenting on other people's posts, when you're directly messaging your main contacts that you need to do, it's probably the worst thing to do is just to lead with, I'm looking for a job, here's my CV. That's just not going to really work, because most people will just think, well, I haven't really got one, I can't really help you. And especially if they're recruiters, or if they've got a particular job post up, they will be inundated with emails like that. You have to differentiate, show something different. And the most important thing that you can show is demonstrating value, demonstrating that you solve problems. And that's the kind of content you need to do. Now, when it comes to content, there's essentially two different types that you can create. The first one I always mention, because I think it's the easiest way to get in it, because we can all be fairly daunted about creating content, is commenting. And if you've got your list of target companies and you're following the people you need to follow, then you will have loads of content that you can start adding value to. So make sure you are commenting, and comment in value, in volume. The more that you're putting yourself out there and commenting, the more visible you're going to be to a lot of people. Arguably more people than if you're just reliant on LinkedIn posts. It will make so much of a difference. I always know for myself that, and I post every single day just about, often multiple times a day, about lots of different subjects, plus LinkedIn lives and videos and different types of bits. I can tell you that my impressions that I get will always be lower if I haven't been commenting very much that week. If I've had less comments that I've been doing because I've just been busy, I haven't had enough time to do it, absolutely it will be lower. You will find with a lot of comments, and there will always be a little impression count at the end of each one that you can see when you've been, go back to them and see how you've been performing. You can often get more than thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of impressions just from comments. And what people tend to do when they see a comment, especially an insightful value add one, make sure you don't just put great story, congratulations, love this, make sure you're adding value to it, because what you want them to do is to prompt them to have a look at you. And if you're just putting congratulations, they're probably not going to want to be prompted to look at your profile. But if you're talking about, really love this post because I was in exactly the same situation, this is what happened, this is how we solved it, and that was the end result of it, that's going to prompt somebody to think, I'm going to have a look. And they'll click on your profile name, they'll go and have a look at your profile. And you can see that because LinkedIn very kindly puts a list of everyone who's looked at your profile under profile views, and that's when you can have your follow-up strategy as well to go back to them. So comment a lot, comment with insight, comment with value, and And absolutely, you've got to do it in volume every single day. If you don't have that, set yourself for some time, whether it's 2 half-an-hour slots or an hour slot, however much you feel that you can do, and just start going through your list of in LinkedIn. So you can literally just go through your scroll list and just look through it, find the kind of content that you want to add value to, especially for your target audience, and start commenting. But make sure you do a lot. You can't do too much. So anyone that says to you, oh, you're commenting too much, you don't want to put too much on, completely ignore. It's absolutely, the more literally is the merrier. So make sure you add a lot onto that. And then the second part that you want to be looking at is then the actual creation of content for yourself. So what you're going to post out there. All of us have done that to a larger or a greater or smaller amount. And what you will find is that you will start instinctively getting better as you go along that journey. At the start of it, you're probably going to be super nervous about it, super unsure about what to put, and then making the common mistake that you do, where you will start to write it all out and then sit there and procrastinate for hours, sometimes days, maybe even a week, worrying about what somebody else might think when you post it. Worrying that, who am I to put something up here? Oh, I don't think anyone's going to want to see this, and I don't want to be a LinkedIn influencer. Why am I doing this? You have to just ignore those voices, press the button, push it out, make sure you post it. That's so important. But also, when you're creating your content, what you've got to do is remind yourself, what's the purpose of me creating content? What am I trying to do? Well, obviously, you're trying to get visibility and attention. You're trying to get people to come onto your profile. But what you're also looking to do is to position yourself as an expert in your field, somebody who solves problems, somebody who has got value and has got skill. That is the most important thing to do. As ever, we're having some fun today, aren't we? I think it's probably because we've got too many Nigels in the same place. Where as soon as you have more than one Nigel in the same place, it's a bit like that one of those films that were out there. If you have more than one Nigel in the same room, virtually or otherwise, then it all goes wrong. It suddenly all goes wrong. But I'm back. So thank you for your patience. If you're still here, you get an extra medal for that. In fact, anyone that's here should be getting the new Get Hired mug. I should be saying available at good shops, but it's only available online with myself. But look, thank you for sticking with us, and we will still go through. Thank you, Kate. It's good content in between. Oh yeah, well that's probably something good for you. So look, so the important bit here, create your content. And speaking of which, of course, be authentic and be personal. Do you think that sometime this week that everyone's going to hear in the content that I produce about what can go wrong when you're doing a LinkedIn Live? Because I absolutely are going to be creating some content about that, because it's super valuable, because this is what happens. Or nothing is particularly straightforward, nothing is particularly easy, and that's why it's so important to make sure that you are authentic in what you are producing and what you need to put out there to everybody else. So absolutely, when you're creating your content and when you want to create a post for yourself, talk about you. Talk about the things that you've done in the past that has added value to companies that you've got. It's almost like when you're going to be at an interview, what are you going to be talking about to people when you're there? You talk about, well, these are the problems we had. This is how I solved it. You use the STAR method in terms of where you're doing, the situation, the target and the achievement and the result of what you did and what the action you had. You're doing the same thing online. Exactly the same thing. You're putting that out there in order to be able to show and demonstrate what your skill set is. The difference is that when you're doing it in a CV, you're showing one person, the recruiter. When you're at an interview, you're showing one person, the interviewer. When you're on LinkedIn and you're posting content, you're doing it, technically, 1.2 billion people out there. But in reality, you're doing it to your target audience, to the people who are interested in your market, the people who want to actually hire people from there, which can be anything from hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands to, if you're really lucky, hundreds of thousands. The reality is that you will get far more widespread attention and visibility if you're creating these posts on LinkedIn and actually have targeted to the right people. That's how you start to get people to come and notice you. Because the thing that I think that most job seekers are struggling with is getting noticed. Because if you're just applying for a job and you're hearing nothing back, clearly it means that people haven't seen you. They haven't seen your CV. And if they have seen it, unfortunately, they've seen other people who are either the same as you or better, and they're just not being motivated to want to contact you. They might well, if you have applying for a job that's only had what, 200, 300, 400 applications, and they've already got 10 people at interview, do they need one more? And the reality is there's probably another 50 people out there that can do the job really, really well. And that's why you need to sort of bypass that system. And the way to bypass that system is getting visible, getting attention of recruiters, of hiring managers, of business leaders, of business founders. That's what you need to do. And that's absolutely the whole purpose of getting visible online with LinkedIn. Now, there's a lot of different ways to do it. One, of course, is going LinkedIn Live, which obviously, as you can see, there's lots of technical issues that can go wrong here. You can have your laptop die on you. You can have your microphone going. You can have the video going. That hasn't gone yet, but I'm sure that'll be the next one. Or you could have all of them at the same time. That's always a good way of trying that and seeing how you cope with that. But there are other ways that you can do it. Creating video on your own. Using your phone, you can just point it, look directly at it, and actually speak to the camera, speak to it, and create your post. And I know it seems really, really super scary, but it is a fantastic way of getting out there. And I know you will probably see lots of differing advice for you on LinkedIn as to whether that's a good thing to do or not. But video is, and LinkedIn wants to create more video. They want people to be able to be more influential, to be able to actually be open about talking. If you're comfortable doing that, please do it. If you're not comfortable doing it, please try. Give it a go. Because what you will find is as soon as you start doing it for any length of time, you'll get better at it. And people will stop to view that. And that's the reason why LinkedIn likes it, is because they know with all the different bits, when you're scrolling through on your phone and you're looking at all the different pieces of content, they know from their algorithms that people tend to stop and pause when they see video. Just make sure that when you post your video, you add a captions to it as well, the subtitles. Now you can do that by using, there's lots of different apps up there. I use CapCut, super simple, really easy to use. You can do it all on your phone, put it on there, make sure you got the subtitle, because what tends to happen with most people, no one ever turns the sound up. What they'll do is just pause over it and just read the actual subtitles on it. So really, really super important to do that. Foxy, you're absolutely right. It is scary at first, and then you will get used to it. Foxy, as you know, this is my weekly reminder for everybody. If you've not checked it out, make sure you go and check out Foxy's Lab. It's a great channel that Foxy has created on YouTube. James will no doubt put in there in the comments about Foxy's Lab link, so you can all go and check it out. But the reason why I say that is that Foxy, who came and joined us really early on in the LinkedIn Lives, always said about how he found it really difficult to post. He's a bit of an introvert. How do I do that? Video, by his own admission, was way out of his comfort zone, way out of his comfort zone. But go and look at Foxy's Lab, and that's why I think it's really important for you to go and have a look at it, because you can see what you can achieve from somebody who was a self-confessed introvert. I don't want to put myself out there. I don't think it's for me. And you've actually have done. It is scary at first, but as soon as you get over that hump, it's really easy. Myself, I found that really difficult. When I first started in my LinkedIn content journey, it was all text. I didn't even want to do pictures, like photos of myself, because I was too worried about it. Now I've got to the point where I don't care if every technical thing goes wrong. It might be slightly annoying, but I can still just move on with it, still get on with it. Things happen and you just get on with it. Nobody's going to really judge you that much. It is what it is. And it's the same thing that you need to do with that there as well. I found the same thing, that when I was going to do the videos and actually creating video for it, I was trying to be over polished. How am I going to say the right thing? Do I write it down? I've got to try and read it. And then eventually I thought, hang on a minute. I've just got to speak to camera, talk the message I want to talk. And it doesn't matter if I and a couple of times. So what? Just be authentic, just be personal, and just put it out there. And that's exactly what I did. And it's helped so much, really so much. And it's got a lot more attention, and I'm getting a lot more of inbound than I ever have before. And that's the way that we need to make sure that you do it. So feel free to experiment, feel free to do that. If you're not comfortable to start off with and you're right at the beginning of your journey, then just create written. So absolutely, you can still start to do that. In fact, the post that I've had the biggest amount of impressions for myself, both ones over 1 million impressions, 2 million impressions, have all been text only posts. So not even with a picture. So it just goes to show, anyone that says to you it has to have a picture, it's got to get video in order to do this, it really doesn't. If it's something that actually resonates with people, then absolutely it can really move forward. But it's really important to know that it's got to be right for you. So when you are writing it, creating video, whatever format that you're doing, make sure that it's personal to you. It's your own writing. If you're using AI to help you, don't just cut and paste it and put it out there. Take the content, editorialize it, put it into your own words. That's really important. If you're doing that, people will actually recognize it. I think it's quite interesting that I think a lot of people now are starting to recognize and get more and more familiar with AI, that they're getting more turned off now than ever when they're seeing content that is very AI focused. And that's why people are crying out for more authenticity. They're crying out for more personal type of stories, ones that are clearly not written by AI. They might be aided by it. I don't think anyone's got a problem with that. But make sure it's your own words, because you will be more successful if you do that as well. Yeah, absolutely, Foxy. Look, way out of your comfort zone. Hated it at first. I love it now. I want to be my full-time job. You should do. I think it should be fantastic, and I think you were well on the way. Sooner or later, you will be the big YouTuber that will be successful the world over. Wendy, let's have a look at I have been posting since February, and it has got easier. Not confident on video still. Nor was I. So look, it absolutely, just give it a go. And the best way to do it is, look, you use it. You don't need fancy lighting. You don't need fancy cameras. Your camera in your phone that we all have nowadays, depending on whether it's iPhone or Android or whatever, it is better. The camera is better than Hollywood had 20 years ago. So you don't need to have anything. It's all there. You don't even need to have fancy microphone. It'll pick it all up and everything. Just do it and just keep authentic. Keep it under 20 seconds if you're going to do your first one. So just a real short, snappy one. Just trial some out. You don't need to post them. Start practicing, start using it a little bit. Start to just do some little pieces to camera. At some point, you're going to have to be talking when you're doing a piece to camera. Most of interviews nowadays are going to be on Teams, on Zoom, whichever format it is. You're going to be talking to camera and you're going to be talking to an interviewer. So there's not really much difference from that. But what it will do is it really adds credibility to you. It really does demonstrate your skill set. Just make sure that when you're talking about it, especially for someone like yourself, Wendy, I'm sure you've got lots of experience in your field. Talk about that. Don't talk about your job search. You can occasionally do that. So I would, in the amount of content you're having, I would say talk about my job search less than 10% of the time, maybe 5% of the time. The rest of the time, you can be talking about the work that you've done, the problems you've solved, the value you bring, the news that's currently in your market, things that are happening out there that is relevant to your business. Talk about that. Talk about your opinions. Start to demonstrate your expertise in there. And then you can do, if you really want to, you can talk about whether you've got some dogs or cats, you like to walk, you like to go and train, you like to go onto the beach sometimes. Things that are super personal to you can be about 20% of the time is that. But it's really important, just don't always just talk about the job search. Position yourself, demonstrate what you can do, because that's the target market that you want people to look at. What you want is people, as they're scrolling through, seeing something that they think, wow, that's the same problem I've got in the company. I really, something that resonates with them. They can feel that. They know that's something that's a hot topic in your industry. They'll look at that, and if you've hooked them in really well, they'll start reading the content, they'll go onto your profile, and they'll start looking at you. That's what you're after, is that kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely. Make sure that you do on that as well. There's also one other point here. I can see there, Wendy, that you're talking about a framework for your videos. You get tongue-tied. There's two different things. So Foxy will talk about, absolutely, he uses scripts. So he will have an auto cue, and absolutely, if that works for you and you're not too sure about it and you want to read that, you can do that as well. So there's nothing wrong with doing that at all. Personally, I've tried that. I just thought I sounded too over scripted. So I've tried to do it like I know what I want to talk about, and then I'll just sort of think, I want to talk about this, and then I'll just talk to camera and do that. So whichever is easier for you to do, try that. So there's no sort of magic formula of you've got to do it this way, you've got to do it that way. What you will find is that the more that you do it, the more confident you get at doing that as well. So look, we've had a fascinating and interesting session. This has been the most interesting LinkedIn Live I think I've had for a long time. Not only have we had lots of Nigels coming into the session, but also we've had technical issues. We've not been able to, you can't hear me, my laptop crashed, we've lost power, camera's gone. I don't think we've had lights blow up, but we've had most things. And if you've stuck with it, I thank you all very much. You've been really patient. We're coming towards the end of the session. What we've got to do now, as ever, I do always like to create some challenges for people. Last week it was about putting a couple of posts up to do that. So hopefully you've tried that as well. This week, what I think we should do is start to look to build your target companies. It is something I know that one of you spoke earlier about, was how do I do that? What do I need to do? Get your list together. Aim to try and see, look, I'm going to get 20 target companies for me to go and follow on LinkedIn, and then to start to map the people in there and to start to follow the relevant people in there. So that's your challenge for next week. Find 20 companies, go and see if you can follow them, start to follow the people in there as well, and then start creating your content based around that. And see if you can beat 20. Let's see how many everyone can do. Come back the following week and see if we can find the person who has the most amount of companies that they've followed in it. In fact, what you can also do is get into the Get Hired group. If you're not already in there, we have a community, a circle community that we've created, again, totally free of charge. There's some extra information, some guides that we've got there, some PDFs that we have, some more events that are coming on there. James will stick into the chat as well for the Get Hired circle group. If you're not already a member, go and join. It gives you access to a lot more things there as well. And also share with everybody there. If you've got questions on it, there's a Q&A there for myself. So if you've got any questions about what kind of companies I want to follow, how do I do this, I'm not confident about the videoing, you'll be able to put that in there as well. So make sure you add into that. Thank you all yet again. It has been so good. The link is there that James has very kindly put in there. Make sure you click on that and join that group. I will see you at the same time next week. I will make sure that we've got rid of all the technological gremlins that we've had this week. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you next week. Take care. Cheers, everybody.